So today's topic is business immigration from the UAE to Canada, specifically focusing on a high-level overview of things that you need to keep in mind. What are the pathways for the Emirati businesses, Emirates-based businesses, to expand to Canada one way or another, whether as an entity or as an entrepreneur? Briefly about Sobirovs law firm, we are established in 2011 as a solo legal practice, as one lawyer, one legal assistant, and now we've grown to a team of 20 professionals, licensed lawyers, paralegals, and immigration consultants based in Toronto. We are a team of business immigration and corporate immigration lawyers and professionals based in Toronto. Our primary goal is to assist businesses, entrepreneurs, and investors from all over the world to relocate and succeed in Canada. So today's topic is only about business immigration because this is the only area that we focus on. Business immigration is our business. We are a multilingual. If you speak different languages, don't hesitate. If English is not your primary language of communication, that's okay. We use almost, I think, near to 15 different languages in our office, and most probably we speak your native language too. More than 20 years of combined legal experience is at Sobirovs law firm, and we are proud to be a member, as I mentioned earlier, of CBC Dubai and Northern Emirates, as well as CBC in Abu Dhabi. More information you can find at sobirovs.com. So without further ado, let me start the topic. You know better than I do, and I've dealt with many clients from the Emirates and the Gulf region. Why immigrate from UAE to Canada? There are many reasons, personal, business related, or any other reasons. But I highlighted here for Emirati citizens and non-Emirati citizens who are doing business in the Emirates, Canada is still one of the most welcoming countries in terms of immigration, in terms of stable economy. Yes, there are hiccups, and I don't hesitate by acknowledging it, that there are things going around the world. It's a bit challenging these days, but Canada is known to be one of the best countries to live in by many, many rankings that you are aware of. Quality of life is part of it, because quality of life in Canada, as I've been living in Canada for 20 years now. I myself immigrated to Canada for this specific goal, quality of life. Educational opportunities for yourself and your spouses and your children is one of the attractive part of immigration, and pathway to citizenship. Getting Canadian citizenship, which was ranked number 8 in the world by the recent rankings, is one of the goals that I see over and over again when I deal with my international clients. Today, I want to leave this slide. If I were to have one slide for the whole presentation, I would give this slide to you, because these are the most common business immigration programs. And there are some codes that I want you to remember, but it's a very easy formula if you are in different stages of your business development. For example, there's entrepreneur visas called C11 significant benefit and C10 for those who don't have an existing foreign entity, incorporated entity, but they have experience in managing a company as in a managerial capacity or other capacity, and they have the capital and plan to do business in Canada. So significant benefit are for those who are not a company owners. So this is what we will discuss. And C10 is when we don't, I put it specifically in the middle, because if you don't fit into C11 significant benefit and C12, which is intra-company transfers, you will probably fit into the C10. It's an exceptional code in terms of immigration. We will delve into these codes in a moment, but this is an overview, and C10 is for those who have capital, investment capital, plan, and they want to do a new company in Canada with sometimes minority shareholders can also benefit from this immigration program. And C11, C10, and C12 are all work permit program. So if you want to get an overview of Canadian immigration, business immigration as a whole, there are only a few permanent residence-oriented immigration programs. But most of the business immigration programs, they start with work permit, and then you move forward with permanent residency. There is no, what we say in the industry, there is no passive investment option in Canada as of today, as we speak today. So there are other programs that we will highlight. Startup visa program, very popular in the Middle East and the Gulf region. Provincial entrepreneur streams, what we call provincial nominee programs. I will highlight that. And there's new program coming up about which we don't know much at the moment. It's a new innovation stream that is promised by the Canadian government by the end of 2023. Okay. Let's start with a very obvious and very common scenario that we deal when we have clients from the Gulf region and the Middle East, from the UAE to Canada on an ICT work permit. ICT here stands for intra-company transfer, whereas you have a company in the Middle East, let's say in Dubai, and you establish a related company in Canada, and certain categories of business owners, executive, managerial, and specialized knowledge people can be transferred from your Dubai-based company or Emirati-based company to your Canadian operations to kickstart your Canadian operations. So companies in the UAE that are looking to expand their businesses in Canada can opt for the intra-company transfer program, very straightforward, which allows companies to move their executives, managers, or specialized knowledge staff members to Canada. Many people ask about the prospects of permanent residence. After a year of working in Canada, individuals on the ICT work permit may be able to transition to permanent residency subject to certain requirements. The advantages of this program, many people ask this, what is the advantage of this program? And this like 8 very important advantages is you can live and run your business in Canada. It's optional. You don't have to be physically in Canada, but you can be between Emirates and Canada. Bring your family with you. You will have a work permit as a transferee, and your spouse will have a work permit that is parallel to your work permit in terms of timing and so on. But the spouse's work permit will be open work permit, while yours will be restricted to your own Canadian corporation. Of course, free education for children. As a work permit holder, your children are eligible to go to Canadian public schools for free. No minimum investment required. That's subject to what you want to do in Canada. The legislation in relating to intra-company transfers, they don't put a minimum investment amount, but you should be reasonable. The business plan that you propose in the expansion plan should be viable, and you should have enough capital to realize that business plan. So the legislation left this point, the minimum investment point, deliberately open and vague in a way in order to analyze each case on a case-by-case basis. No physical presence is required. There are certain business immigration programs that we will discuss in a moment that require you to spend most of your time in Canada and physical presence in Canada. Whereas intra-company transfer, you don't have to have minimum presence in Canada. Options to transfer key employees from home company. I mentioned it already. Certain categories of employees in your home base can be transferred to Canada. It's a relatively speedy process, and we will discuss processing times in a moment. And there are options to stay permanently after 1 year of employment by the Canadian company. And I forgot to include another benefit of intra-company transfer. Those who are transferred can either get their salaries in the Emirates, in the UAE, or in the payroll of the Canadian corporations. It is up to you, your strategy, and perhaps tax considerations too. The second most commonly used program is C11 Significant Benefit Work Permit. And I can give you an example. This is a work permit that focuses on the impact of your business project to the local economy in Canada. Significant benefit, usually, historically speaking, was about athletics and cultural activities. But with the changes in law, they also now look into economic benefit. So when we talk about economic benefit and significant benefit, you should focus not necessarily on the amount of money you invest in Canada, but the significance and impact, hopefully positive impact, of your project to the local economy in Canada. Here's an example of a C11 that we dealt from the UAE. The UAE person was from the UAE, but she was not an Emirati citizen. She had enough experience in the corporate world. And we got, of course, she has spouse and children. We got her a 2-year C11 work permit. Usually the work permits for C11 are for 2 years. And open work permit for her spouse and relevant status for the children to be able to study in Canada. The business that she started was a canola processing company in Canada, in the province of Alberta, to be exact, which she had an amazing market research. We helped her to do further research, and now she's producing canola oil and distributing it across the region of the Gulf. So the Gulf region is now benefiting from Canadian products. This is what we say, what Canada wants to see in terms of local impact and export potential of Canadian products. The focus here, as I mentioned, is the impact on the economy of the location in Canada. Therefore, I think a year and a half ago, Canadian government clarified in terms of minimum investment. They gave an example. For example, most of us know Tim Hortons coffee shops in Canada. If you were to open through this program a Tim Hortons in the downtown Toronto area, which creates only 2 jobs and requires more than $1 million investment, Canadian government may look at it and say, this is not significant. But whereas you open a very non-branded, very typical coffee shop in the rural areas of Canada and create 2 jobs there, that impact is considered significant. So don't focus on the dollar amount, focus on the business impact of your project. And in this scenario, we submitted in February 2022, and we obtained approval in March 2022. So you can see the speedy process, relatively, it's a fast process. Another, the example that I want to give on the ICT work permit is, again, from the UAE, spouse and 3 children. This is a business related to jewelry and personal accessories, and they expanded their business. They showed the business amount, reasonable business amount of investment. It's between $250,000 to $350,000 to realize the business plan. Remember that this is not the money that you give to the government, or this is not the money that goes out of your pocket immediately. This is the money that allocated, and you prove that that money exists to realize the business plan that you are proposing to do in Canada. This is not the money that you give to the government. And an example of ICT work permit is in April, we submitted in 2021, just during the pandemic. It was quite, challenging times. And in May, we got approved. Another example of C11 work permit, an Indian national living in the UAE for many years, spouse and children, of course, C11 work permit to operate a franchise business. There is an opportunity to not only establish new business, but already existing business. You can focus on that too. Why this is why it's a significant economic contribution, and it's considered significant benefit to Canada. It's because the franchisee did the research and decided to open a new location, and this business owner invested and became the owner of a new location. So the business plan is almost done for him, because you don't have to do much of the research. Franchise operators, they want to be successful in the new location, and they only open a new location when it's a feasible in terms of demand and so on. And we submitted the work permit in February 2022, and in April it was approved. So these are the examples that I wanted to give. Remember the C10, which is basically the situation where you neither qualify to C11 significant benefit, nor you qualify to intra-company transfer because you don't have an operating business in foreign country. C10 could be another option. So this is a situation where LMIA is not available, which means the code specific scenario is not available. There's no specific exemption category, but the balance of practical considerations by the government would indicate that the work of the foreign national would be a significant benefit to Canada, economically, and I mentioned earlier, socially and culturally. So we don't focus on social and cultural, we focus on economic benefit, and this allows the immigration officers, Immigration Canada, to put this kind of scenario into a category where there's neither intra-company transfer nor significant benefit C11 situation. They use this code to give you a work permit. Significant, again, the word significant I think is deliberately left undefined, but it includes certain things. For example, general economic support for Canada, such as job creation and so on, regional economic development, export market development and so on. Advance of a Canadian industry. If you are in certain industry and in Canada, that industry is not yet in the high level of development or maturity, you may come and further develop it and contribute to its advancement. Innovation and opportunities for improving the skills of Canadian is the primary concern there. Increasing the health and well-being, meaning the physical and mental health of the society, either across Canada or regionally, that's considered significant. And increased in tolerance, knowledge, and opportunities. That's more about cultural and social benefits, but I put it out there just for you to see. There are certain projects that we dealt that had an economic component and also mental health component. So when you're deciding what to argue or what put forward to Canadian government, you should also look into the things that they go beyond dollar value or economic impact. So now I am in a rush a little bit because I want to get to your questions. Please, you can type your questions. If you don't have your questions right now, that's okay. You can type your comments under this video on YouTube, and we will get to your questions after this webinar. Another one that is very popular among the Emirati business owners and innovators is the Startup Visa Program. In a simple way, that's the formula for the Startup Visa Program. The SUV program is designed for founders of startups that allows up to 5 founders to move to Canada first on a temporary basis and ultimately on a permanent basis, and provided they meet strict program requirements, including securing investment from a designated Canadian organization. That is what we refer to as letter of support. Foreign nationals must get a letter of support or investment commitment from the designated organizations, and each foreign national must own at least 10% of the startup, which is incorporated in Canada. Foreign nationals and their designated organization must jointly have more than 50%. Some of the designated organizations, they take equity in your startups. Some of them, they don't, okay? Angel investors and VC funds, they usually take a stake in your startup. Incubators, business incubators, they don't take any stake in most cases. So depending on which incubator you work with. Each applicant must meet a minimum English or French language skills. That language component is always present in Canadian immigration. There's no way usually you can avoid English or French language test. Although your mother tongue, your native language is English, whether you're an American or whether you are a British, does not matter. You will have to take English language test in most cases. There are exceptionals, but exceptions don't change the general rule. Regardless of your English language education or upbringing or citizenship, the test is almost all the time required. Each applicant must have sufficient funds to settle in Canada. Depending on the size of your family, it could be between 12,000 or almost 13,000 to 34,000 Canadian dollars. The beauty of this program, is the following. One is, if you get permanent residency through startup program, the permanent residence is not conditional on the success of your startup. Yes, we know that 90% of any startups in any part of the world, they fail. And Canadian government recognizes this. The permanent residence is kind of a reward for your best efforts. It's not the ultimate goal of the startup visa program. Permanent residence is a byproduct of the program. And many people get confused here because many applicants think that they definitely will get PR if they just hang out there with their startup visa application. No, there's a progress review. I've witnessed many permanent residence applications being refused under startup visa program. You can check out federal court decisions. Federal Court of Canada has decided on many occasions that if you don't make any progress, the ultimate goal is not the permanent residence. The ultimate goal is to bring innovative business that is scalable and can compete globally, okay? The goal of the startup visa program is not to create a lot of permanent residents. It's to bring those innovators to Canada. And if they do their best, of course, permanent residency will be as a byproduct of their efforts. But the not so beautiful part of this program at the moment is that the processing times is very long for PR. But don't be discouraged. Once you apply for permanent residency under startup visa program, you can immediately apply to C11 work permit and come to Canada, start working on your startup visa, startup project. Okay, so coming again, the logic that I mentioned at the beginning, work permit to permanent residency. That's the pathway I think Canadian government is pursuing in many occasions when it comes to business immigration. Now, another very important and sometimes very attractive option for you to come to Canada is provincial nominee programs. And I'll give you an example of British Columbia provincial nominee program for entrepreneurs, specifically for entrepreneurs. The basic formula is the following. Basically, you apply, you come to Canada on a work permit, you comply fully with the performance agreement that you signed with the province of your choice, and then you get nominated by the province to get the PR, and the federal government will give you PR. So that's the basic formula. Entrepreneurs from the UAE can also consider provincial nominee programs, specifically the business and entrepreneur streams of those programs. There are several programs, and we will leave relevant links to our website where we discuss them in detail, but the logic is as follows. Basically, preparation is the first step. You prepare, you do research where you want to go. Maybe you visit Canada as an exploratory trip, because most PNP programs, they require you to visit in Canada, to visit and come see what's going on in Canada in the market of your choice. Then you, after you do the preparatory work, you register your intent, the expression of intent, and wait for the scoring. Based on your certain criteria, you are scored. In an example of BC PNP program, you need to get certain scores in order to be able to apply. You collect your documents once you get the invitation to apply, that your score is okay. Now you're invited to apply. You collect all the documents, including net worth verification by certain organizations, certain entities need to verify your net worth, and you submit your application. Most of the time, there is an interview to attend. Yes, during the pandemic, the interviews were conducted remotely through Zoom, but nowadays, most interviews are conducted in person. Once everybody is happy, province is happy with your business plan, what you're trying to do. Maybe you're acquiring a business or you're establishing a new business in that province. If they're happy with the overall plan, you and the province sign a performance agreement under which you have to deliver certain KPIs. You are then able to apply for work permit based on that application. You get a work permit, come to Canada and start working on your business. You perform, depending on the province, from 1 year to two years. You work on your business on a work permit. Your family can come to Canada. In the meantime, the focus is to make progress and deliver the KPIs under the performance agreement. Once you are done, you submit a report, basically a final report to the province. Province reviews. If they're happy, they nominate you to the Canadian government. The federal government will look into your PR, permanent residence application. That's the logic of almost all PNP programs, and this is a good example from BC, British Columbia. Now, I mentioned in the beginning of my presentation, in June of this year, former Immigration Minister Sean Fraser announced that there will be a new stream, innovation stream, by the end of 2023. This is an exact copy, screenshot from the government website. It says just coming soon. Later this year, Canadian government will introduce a new innovation stream to bring talented workers to Canada to help build innovative businesses. I'm pretty sure that this is an LMIA exempt category. This will allow your Canadian company that you will establish to hire and bring you as the owner and other workers too. So I don't know what will be the requirements of that program, but most of the time, as the name suggests, it will be geared towards innovative businesses. But again, stay tuned. We will have a specific session on that, and we will I encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It has almost 9,000 followers, and we are proud to say that we only do one area of immigration, which is business immigration, investor immigration, and people follow us. They get a lot of useful information. By the way, every Wednesday we have live sessions. We will be doing a live sessions on our YouTube channel tomorrow, which is Wednesday. So we will leave the link to the government website regarding the innovation stream. Stay tuned. There will be some updates by the end of the year, hopefully in November. Okay, I think I'm almost done with my presentation. A highlight that I want to leave in terms of processing time, because I want to give you a realistic expectations when you are trying to immigrate. Perhaps you need a speedy process. Perhaps you want to relocate to Canada urgently. You need to keep in mind, as we speak today on October 17th, the work permit from UAE is unfortunately 30 weeks. This is a rough estimate. We have witnessed faster processing. But again, if you want a faster processing, talk to the lawyers. We may come up with another strategy on how to speed up the process. Unfortunately, startup visa processing time for permanent residency is still 37 months, and it's probably because of the backlog that was created due to the huge interest in the startup visa program by entrepreneurs from around the world. 33 months, to my mind, in a startup setting is too long. Startups, they move fast, but again, this is a PR, permanent residence component of the startup. There is a work permit component, which is faster in terms of processing time. Skilled worker, because I mentioned this, possibilities of converting from work permit to PR. when you are eligible, when you come to Canada and you become eligible for PR after a certain period of time. At the minimum, it's 1 year, but if you are eligible for express entry, you will probably go under the skilled worker, federal skilled worker program, and the processing time is within standards of government of Canada, 6 months. Provincial nominee programs, that's a PR. After you get nominated, province nominates you to federal government. The processing time of 8 months is quite reasonable. So these are the expectations that I want you to keep in mind when you're doing business immigration to Canada. Now, if you want holistic, honest business guidance, we are here to help. We've been doing it for more than 10 years. Talk to our team, know your options, make an informed decision. So we're here to guide you and to give you a realistic expectations in terms of process, opportunities, and maybe the weaknesses of your case. We will discuss it openly. You can book your 1-hour strategy meeting at sobirovs.com. With this, I conclude my presentation, but I see several questions that came in. Now, let's take a few seconds of break and come back to your questions.
To stay updated on all things related to Canadian business immigration, check out TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter for the latest news and updates. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the notification bell to stay informed about the most recent immigration news, interviews with top immigration specialists, and our weekly live shows. Visit our website at www.sobirovs.com for more information or to book a consultation with our team of experts.
Thank you for staying with us until the end. Now it's time for your questions. I will be looking at the screen that is in front of me. I'll try to read questions, so I'll ask my team to bring up the questions. And okay, greetings to everyone, wherever you're joining us from. Maybe you can tell us where you're joining us from. That's interesting for us. So Muhammad Al-Rafai, thank you for your comments. Thanks for valuable advice, information. Thank you, Muhammad. So Muhammad Al-Rafai is asking the question, I have already a running established company in Canada. Do I need to go through one of the presented options? Well, let me define, Muhammad, the difference between just owning a company, becoming a shareholder, and working in Canada. The term work under immigration laws in Canada basically means that if you take your hands out of your pockets and start doing something, that's considered work. For that kind of thing, in a very simplistic way, for that kind of work, you need work permit. If you just have a running business and somebody else is working on your business, you're just being the shareholder and beneficiary of that business, you don't have to go through one of the presented options. You remain a silent investor in a way, right? But if you want to bring your family to Canada, if you want to move slowly towards permanent residency, perhaps you need to get a work permit and do your steps. Because if you have a running work permit, running business that is generating only income for you, that doesn't really contribute towards your permanent residency. Again, it depends on your ultimate goals. If you are just a silent investor, putting the capital down and let others work for you, that's also okay, but that does not bring you closer to immigration, like as in a common sense of that word, becoming permanent residents or ultimately becoming Canadian citizen. Okay, next question. Murat Shibli is asking, thank you for the nice webinar. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. It is highly appreciated. Thanks. How about Canadians who work in the UAE and would like to launch a startup in Canada? What options do they have? Well, for those Canadians, there are two types of startup founders. Those who want to immigrate or those who already have a Canadian status. Let's say a permanent residence status or citizenship. If they have permanent residence and citizenship, they don't have to even refer to startup visa program, right? All they have to do is, come and do the startup. But associate yourself with business incubators. There are, I'm not a business incubator and I don't know the specifics of Canadian market, maybe regulatory aspect of your startup project and so on. I think for those individuals that you mentioned, Canadians who are in the UAE, they can do startup program their own without involving immigration. They can do their startup project with incubators in Canada. And I think it will be, yes, it will be a startup in terms of the nature and agility of the project, but business incubators in Canada, they not only look at the startup visa program, they also help you launch your startup within their region. They want you to stay within their region, but there are many incubators that we have good relationship with. They can support you in that. So next one, Christina Bolla. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, Christina, don't hesitate to leave your questions under this video. We will make it public and I promise we will get to your questions. Okay. Oh, you are joining from Italy, I can see. Great. Hello to Italy. All right. Any other questions related to the topic? I'm asking my... okay, Rajiv Verma. How often audits take place in C11? According to statistics, Rajiv, 50% of companies that employ foreign workers, in that case C11 work permit holder is a foreign worker, they get audited. 50% of them get audited within the first 3 years. That's the statistics we know from the government of Canada. They get audited, and to know whether you are complying with the foreign worker regulations and applicable payrolls and whatnot. And that's the statistics we have so far. Huram Iqbal is asking, I have a 17 years old business in Dubai. Can I establish a company and transfer myself? Yes, you can do it. In order to be able to do transfer, your home company in Dubai needs to be operational for at least 1 year, but we prefer to be 3 years. Because in 3 years, the company has a history. And if you don't have a history, that's where the C10 work permit can be applicable. We had a case, and we published that success story on our website, of an American newly established company that expanded to Canada. They couldn't do intra-company transfer because American company was new. They did C10 work permit, which gave them 2-year work permit for the person that they transferred, quote unquote, transferred from the US to Canada. That person was of Indian nationality. He's a citizen of India. He's a minority shareholder in the new company in the US. So we couldn't do intra-company transfer because the company was new. But in your case, you have a 17-year-old company, which is more than enough. I hope you have at least a revenue of minimum of 300,000 Canadian, and you can finance the operations of your future Canadian company. So yes, you can do it, the transfer in a nutshell, but we need to talk about the details. Feel free to contact us. Maisei Blazik is asking the question. I hope I'm pronouncing the names correctly. If not, I apologize for my incorrect pronunciation. Under C10, can 2 foreign nationals apply together as partners in a single company? Yes, it's possible, but the justification should be provided why these 2 individuals are needed in Canada. What's their impact? What's their input into the Canadian operation, Canadian company? Yes, it could be. It could be. But again, this under C11, remember that Canadian company will be paying their salaries under Canadian standards. So that, which means that Canadian company should be financially capable to do that. Amir Hamid, I'm Pakistani by nationality. Good. Can you arrange work permit for me for USA, Canada, Australia, Netherlands? Well, Amir, thank you for your questions. We are Canadian business immigration law firms. We do not arrange employment. If you mean employment, we don't arrange employment. We help business owners, investors, and entrepreneurs to do business in Canada. In order to be able to do business in Canada, they need a work permit, right? To comply with laws and regulations. So this is what our area of expertise. If you are looking for an employment as an employee, I'm afraid we cannot help you with that. But here's a clarification from Amir. I have 17 years banking sector experience and running my feedlot farm from 4.5 years. Okay, if you have your own business, then we can talk about what you can do, what business immigration options you may have in Canada. But again, if you're looking for employment, then we cannot help. If you're looking to do a business in Canada, then we can help. Fayaz Rub is asking the question, is there any minimum investment requirement to start the business in Canada? If yes, how much it will be? Fayaz, that's a very good question, a very commonly asked question. Under federal business immigration programs such as C10, C11, C12, the law does not put minimum amounts, okay? The reason being is the businesses can be of different nature. For example, if you want to do a construction in Canada, you would need millions of dollars, right? But if you want to do a consulting business in Canada, I believe a few $100,000 is enough. Again, when we look at the federal laws, there are no minimums. But when we look to provincial immigration programs, there are minimums. The lowest I can remember is, I think, for international graduates that studied in Alberta and want to do business in Albertan rural areas, 50,000 was a minimum. However, usually the provincial nominee programs for entrepreneurs, I go with at least 150,000 Canadians. But I should note again, as a lawyer and experienced in this kind of projects, minimum investments under provincial nominee programs or any business immigration programs, minimum investments will give you minimum chances. So you should go beyond minimum. Overall, based on our more than 10 years of experience in this area, we say that at the minimum, you should have 200,000 allocated for your business to do business in Canada. So that's my assessment. This does not include any legal fees or any other logistical things that you need to do, okay? Minimum 200,000 is a good start, okay? I think that's it for the questions. I will wait a few moments. I would like to answer as many questions as possible, but if you couldn't answer or you didn't come up with a question that, at this moment during the webinar, during this live session with you, don't hesitate to leave a comment and don't hesitate to contact us at our email address, which is wecare@sobirovs.com. So without any further ado, and I respect your time, I wish you a very good and enjoyable evening. Let me see if we have final questions. Okay, Anis Badshah is asking the question, is this compulsory to hire local Canadian for establishing any business? Do you also provide consultancy in identifying the area where someone can start business? Yes, we do. We do provide market research. We have in-house team that will do some research for you. It's an additional service that we offer. Your first question, is it compulsory? It depends with which program you are. Under startup visa program, you don't have to hire someone local, Canadian resident or Canadian citizen. But for intra-company transfer, C11 work permit, I think hiring at least one Canadian is, I wouldn't say mandatory, but very highly encouraged, because initial work permit will be for 2 years or 1 year. In order to be able to extend that work permit, you need to show progress. Progress includes that is generating benefit for Canadians. And usually the benefit is easily proved when you create jobs for Canadians and you hire somebody beyond your family members, okay? Certain immigration programs, C11 for example, for entrepreneurs and business owners, they recognize that some people hire their own spouses or their children, but the actual benefit is to create something beyond your family. So in that respect, we highly encourage our clients to create jobs for Canadians within the first year, perhaps if not possible within the first 2 years of their operations in Canada. That will secure, it's not guaranteed, but it will secure their further extension of work permits. So Canadian government will look into what exact benefits you created, and the most easiest way is to create jobs for Canadians. Maise Blazik is asking another question. Can a candidate for C11 qualify for a business loan? Oh, that's a great question. I think many banks that we talk to usually say the foreign entrepreneur should have skin in the game. When you have a project, let's say the project is a $200,000 project, right? But you need to put most of the time they require 35% down for the project so that you have substantial stake in the business and the success of that business, and then the remaining part can be financed. If not at the A-level banks, top tier banks, you could go to secondary banks and financial institutions. It is possible, but depends on the project you want to do. Therefore, come up with a project and then approach the banks. Banks will have their own assessment and due diligence. They will provide their requisites to financing, preconditions, and it's possible. As I said, if not with A banks, maybe B or C banks in Canada. Okay, Amir Hamid coming up with another question. How can I shift my business to Canada? If my business doesn't worth 200,000 Canadian dollars, then no chance. Well, if your business, if you don't have liquidity, if you don't have a cash liquidity for $200,000, then probably business immigration could not be the best way to proceed. Maybe you look into other immigration options, for example, personal immigration and other options too. Business immigration always requires capital investment. Unfortunately, that's the problem. I think that's it for now. Thank you again. Thank you to Canadian Business Council of Dubai and Northern Emirates and Canadian Business Council in Abu Dhabi for organizing this joint webinar. We are very pleased to be a part of these business councils, and we encourage you to become members too if you are not members already. Thank you again, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us, visit our website sobirovs.com. Everything, all the information that we have is out there in the guidelines, and it's free information and holistic information with a lot of success stories that you can relate to. Thank you again. Have a great evening. Hope to see you all in Canada soon. Bye-bye.